I'm sure you're all aware by now that 2 days ago, both Mayor Hewitt and I declared a state of emergency in both Norfolk and Haldimand counties. The support that we have received for making that decision from both of our communities has been overwhelming, and we thank you for that. To the critics that continue to question why we made such a declaration in light of the fact that we still have not yet had a single confirmed case in a resident of either Haldimand or Norfolk counties. COVID-19 is coming to Haldimand and Norfolk. Cases have now been identified in Oxford, in Elgin, in Brant, in Hamilton, in Niagara, in all of our surrounding municipalities. You've all heard the term to flatten the curve, and what that means is we want to slow the rate of the spread of the virus. Because right now, the number of cases are growing exponentially, which means they are doubling on average every 3 days. We need to slow the rate of growth so that we can reduce the number of patients that require treatment at any one time. It's what's happened in Italy, it's what's happening in Spain, it's what's happening in New York right now. Our healthcare systems simply don't have the capacity to be able to deal with this surge of patients. Despite all of this going on, I want to provide you with some good news or some comfort in the decisions that are being made on your behalf in Haldimand and in Norfolk. And it's certainly in the decisions and the actions that are being taken by our medical officer of health, Dr. Shankar Nesathari. These decisions are putting us ahead of the curve. You'll recall a couple of weeks ago, the federal government was requesting, not mandating, that any Canadians returning to Canadian soil self-isolated for 14 days. You probably know of a friend, a relative, a colleague, an employer even, that required employees to return to work, or those that returned because they felt okay. Even those individuals that self-isolated but thought it was okay to go to the grocery store or no big deal to nip out to the post office. 3 days ago, on March 22nd, Dr. Nesathari issued a formal order to all residents of Haldimand and Norfolk County, mandating that they self-isolate for 14 days. No longer is it an option to our residents, it was a requirement. 3 days later, the federal government, if anybody's followed the news today, and I'm sure you all have, has followed suit. And they too are now mandating that all Canadian citizens quarantine themselves upon return to Canada. We know there are lots of good reasons to feel great about Haldimand and Norfolk. The most important thing that I want you to know right now is that we are staying steps ahead. We are leading the pack with our policies and with our planning. We are setting the standard. And we will continue to make every possible effort to keep it that way. That is why we have been asking you for supplies. That's why we've been creating lists of volunteers. We are getting ready so that if or when that day comes, we will be as prepared as we possibly can be. So I want to thank Dr. Nesathari on behalf of both Haldimand and Norfolk County Councils. I want to thank all of the staff members of both Haldimand and Norfolk. And I want to thank the residents that have been staying home, that have been limiting their travel to essential travel only. The grocery store, the pharmacy, their essential places of employment, and certainly medical treatment if necessary. Thank you for doing your part, for doing your civic duty. And to those of you that aren't, get with the program. Stay home, sit on the couch, watch Netflix, and save lives. Otherwise, when they let me out of quarantine, make no mistake, I am going to start taking my cues from the Italian mayors. This isn't made up. This isn't a joke. This is real life. You are not invincible, and none of us want this to be our reality. Go.
Mi arrivano notizie che se qualcuno vorrebbe preparare la festa di laurea. Mandiamo i carabinieri, ma li mandiamo con i lanciafiamme.
Che? Domani ti becco, domani! Non pensiate tra anni, domani! Sono il sindaco, sul mio territorio non si passeggia. Non vi posso impedire formalmente di uscire da casa? Bene, vi impedisco di passare sul suolo pubblico.
Allora mi rivolgo a voi, ma dove cazzo andate? Dove andate con questi cani che hanno la prostata infiammata?
E voi, non è previsto il ping pong, non potete giocare a ping pong, andiamo alla PlayStation. Siccome io sono il sindaco di questa città, in questa città il decreto lo faccio rispettare. Se ne deve andare a casa adesso, non voglio che tutti, dovete stare tutti a casa, deve andare, non si può stare in mezzo alla strada, come ve lo devo spiegare? Non si può stare. A casa. La mazza, le fidanzate con la mazza ci vuole. Che cazzo di parrucchiere che vanno in casa a aggiustare i capelli e i fette?